everybody. Today I'm talking to London and LA-based singer-songwriter Kate Nash, who's been writing quirky and soulful indie pop since the mid-2000s. Her latest album, the recently issued Sad Symphonies, is out now, and it draws a lot of inspiration from musical theater, so it's a really interesting piece of work. You might also know Kate for her activism or for playing Rhonda Britannica Richardson on Netflix's Glow. It's one of my favorite shows in recent memory. I had a blast talking to Kate about her early years of CD collecting, her admiration for both Beyonce and the Beatles, and the many reasons why she prefers physical media to the digital realm. So without further ado, allow her to introduce herself. Yeah, so are you at home?
Yes, yeah.
Cool. Is this your listening area? Is this your general spot for your records?
Yeah, this is like my record player, and then we have two shelves. This one doesn't stay
Ooh,
open, but
fancy though. I like that.
I know it's quite nice because everything's like hidden. But we moved and we sort of haven't really like ordered anything very sensibly. So it's just kind of a scrambling shelf situation. But yeah, I quite like that they're like tucked.
Yeah, my wife and we just moved into a new house a couple months ago, and this is about the extent of what I have out. Everything else is just tucked away in weird spots, and we're trying to figure out our shelving. Are we going to like build custom shelving? Are we just going to get more stuff like this? So trying to
Yeah.
figure, I love the tucked away thing. I'm gonna have to steal that idea. I love that.
Quite nice because it's like I lived in a place before where everything was really out in the open, and it's just kind of calmer when you come home and you're like, oh, everything's like away
Yeah,
already. You don't have to put it away; it's just away, and then it's like pretty easy. We need a better system. I feel like I need like little whatever they're called.
trying to go all the way back to your first stage of collecting. So, can you remember the
Yeah.
first album that you bought or that
Oh,
somebody gave you as a gift? The first album that was yours and you
I
felt,
think I there's one that I don't remember who it was, but I remember falling in love with this pop song. And I think it was like a white girl with dreads in like pop. I don't know what her name was. Um, but like I have this vision of her, and then like I don't even know what the song was. It's like a lost pop song to me. But the first album I really remember getting into was Celine Dion. I think it's Falling Into You.
okay,
I'm talking CDs. We're talking CDs. Yeah, Falling Into You with the white cover.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is she in jeans on the
Yeah,
cover?
yeah.
Okay,
She's
yeah, like I
in
can
a
picture.
white t-shirt, and it's just
Yeah,
really whited out shot.
classic.
Had this little. I remember getting my first like CD rack,
Hmm.
blue, like plastic blue, and it was quite short. And I remember like wanting to fill it up, like not having it filled, but getting like my little collection going. I would go to like we had a Virgin Records in the shopping center near our house, and I used to go there and buy albums and tapes and stuff too. I remember buying the tape Ace of Base, Life is a Flower, and I loved that song and rewinding it on my Walkman, and Britney Spears,
Oh yeah.
Baby One More Time. That song, oh my God, like I remember, I can like almost touch the feeling of how I felt listening to that song, where I was just like, God,
I loved Ace of Base back in the day too. Man, that the one
yeah.
album with all the huge singles on it, they may have had more stuff that I just don't know, but God, that one album was great.
I think also my parents had vinyl. So
Oh,
we had this like big CD stack,
mhm.
player with like a record player and tape player and radio and CDs. And it was this big like black like unit in the living room. And I would like get my dad's like big headphones and listen. I love the Beatles.
Mhm.
I feel like they're such an accessible group for kids to get into music. I just loved pop music, I guess. And I also I remember looking at the vinyl, like in the Apple core in the record,
Mhm.
and which is why I actually put like a lemon in the Foundations um single,
Yeah,
uh, like a half a cut lemon.
it's a nice reference. Yeah.
And Puff the Magic Dragon I loved. And I really loved Nilsson. Um, I Can't Live If Living Is Without You. Oh my God, I love that song. I used to listen to that and just like, I'm sure, sing out loud and drive my mum crazy. I loved the
Yeah.
drama of that song so much. I feel like Nilsson, like, I Can't Live If Living Is Without You to Celine Dion, like, makes sense as a jump.
Yeah, I do too. No, did you see the Celine Dion documentary that came out? I think that
I really want to watch it, but I haven't been able to find the right moment, but I really want to.
it's incredible. My wife and I watched it a couple months ago, and I was in tears a couple times.
I tried watching the trailer. Like as soon as the trailer started, I was like, ugh. And I was
It
like, I need
is,
like a Sunday moment where I can really dedicate time to sobbing to
yeah,
watch this.
yeah. It's definitely a Sunday sob type of documentary.
Yeah.
Actually, sounds like we had a kind of similar experience. My parents had records at the house, not a ton of them, but there were records. There were also tapes because I was
Yeah.
born in '87, so I came about, right
Oh yeah,
around.
me too.
So I thought I saw that online. So it's
Yeah.
like a mixture of physical media, and then CDs really were the thing that I started collecting, and so my CD collection grew to be pretty huge. It's still pretty big. I still buy some CDs, but eventually I made the jump over to also collecting mostly like for me it's like 60s, 70s, 80s era on vinyl. And now if it's like a new album, often I'll buy it on CD and sometimes vinyl
Okay.
too. So what's your collecting situation now? Like what could you explain like why you buy stuff on one format or the other? Or is it all vinyl? How's it work for you?
Yeah, I think it is vinyl would be what I collect musically now because I
Hmm.
don't have a CD player anymore.
Yeah.
Um, I do really miss my Walkman because I am starting to think about what I want to do because I feel like tech companies have really ruined my experience with music.
Hmm.
They've ruined a lot of things.
Yeah.
They've really ruined it for me. I don't really enjoy music as much as I used to in terms of the experience.
Yeah.
Like the user experience, I think is really, it's so tailored to me that it feels like it's so much, there's so much advertising. It's
Yeah.
like scrolling. I'm just like, I don't enjoy that. So recently, as I feel like the tech companies kind of amp up how much they want us to be addicted to the apps, I've really been thinking like, what do I want for my experience of music? And I'm like, when was my like, I mean, I really miss my iPod. I really genuinely miss my iPod and I
I do
really miss
too.
my Discman because I would like carry CDs around. I remember when I was making my first album, like I would just carry CDs around with me and my Discman. Because
Mhm.
when you're making an album, I feel like you're always into something specific. And I just had to carry like certain CDs with me all the time and just like have them to be able to listen to, which is so mad. It's mad to think about now doing that. But I have been thinking about CDs and like iPods because I love vinyl and I love listening to vinyl at home, but obviously like on the go, um, like I don't think I'm getting a personal enough experience out of music through just apps. I don't think that's what it's about. I think it's about advertising and I don't like that. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
so I'm thinking about the only thing about going back to CDs is like, where am I going to put them? Where am I going to
Yeah.
put CDs? I guess I get like big DJ like things. It feels like a commitment, but maybe I'm ready to commit to CDs again.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Did you used to
because
have one of those like uh what do you even call them? I used to have those like binders, those little flip
yeah,
binders. Did you ever have those?
yes, I did. Yeah, I had the binders. Yeah, I went from my like CD rack to like a bigger CD rack. And then I got like huge ones, in my 20s. And then I was like, okay, I need the like
Yeah.
folders. I guess life started becoming like more portable. And I loved the hell were they called? Like, what's another little format that we had that didn't last very long? And it came in like really cool little, almost looked like a hard drive, like not hard drive, a little floppy disk, but it was a mini
Oh yeah,
discs.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, I loved mini discs. They were so cool. That would be great. I'll be so down for mini discs to come back because they're like small and I feel like you
Yeah.
just store them like quite neatly and they looked really cool, the different like colors. And I had a really cute like silver Sony mini disc player that I loved. And you could record like quite in fun ways on them. Um, but yeah, my first was like the CD rack and my Sony. Like I feel like I was in love with my CD player my Sony CD player. This is
Yeah.
the feeling I miss is the connection to the actual experience of like putting on a CD and like listening and um yeah, like really being excited to hear something. And I feel like I don't get that now. You know what I actually did get it for though is Beyonce's new record, Cowboy Carter. I feel Beyonce has I can I swear I fucking love Beyonce so much.
Yep.
I really think she makes amazing statements about so many things, but about music. And she obviously values music so much. And she makes these like big action statements that are without saying, and I think I'm realizing the power of this as I get older is you don't necessarily have to say the detailed statement, but just the action itself.
Mhm.
Simple statement can be really powerful. And she made me have that feeling where when her album came out, I was like I really want to listen to it like within 24 hours because I don't want to miss that. Like I want to know,
Yeah.
I want to like hear it like straight away. And I didn't get to listen to it the first day. And I was like, oh God, I didn't get to listen to it in 24 hours. And then I was like, how cool that I feel that because I don't feel like I felt this in a long time. Like real like need and desire to listen to something immediately. And then I spent the whole next day, I had Saturday and I was like, oh, my day is clear. I'm going to listen to Beyonce's album. And I just wanted to listen to it uninterrupted and like really take it in. Um, and I have that on record on vinyl too. And she made, you know, everyone's been gagging for the visuals of Renaissance.
Yeah.
And then you see the statement she made recently where she's like, there are no visuals, the music is enough. And I was
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
I love you, Beyonce. Like she was like in a overly visual world or something, basically making a statement about how many visuals that artists are expected to put out. And obviously she has, you know, unlimited resources. Like she's so well funded to make amazing visuals, but she's kind of like, music is enough and music is worth something.
Yeah.
And we have too many visuals. And she's like, you know, she basically invented the visual album. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. For her, that's a huge thing to do. That's a big statement.
yeah. And I just love that. And it made me I think waiting for that album, the excitement of wanting to hear it made me think, oh, I want this connection back. I want to care. I mean, I'm obviously not going to care about everyone as much as I care about Beyonce, but I want
Naturally.
to, yeah, who could? Um, I just want to, I think it's the experience. I think she has worked really hard on creating that experience for us as fans with loads of refocus on the music. Her live show, it's all about highlighting the incredible musicians she has with her dancers, like everything's like quality with Beyonce. And she's brought it back, I feel, to music in a really powerful way that has reminded me of what I want music to
Yeah.
be and what it can be and what it should be.
It's interesting to hear you talk about the event of listening to an album. That's something I've been noticing in myself. And for me as a music journalist, I'm listening to so much music, just the sheer volume can sometimes get a little fatiguing. But I think back to when I was 16 or even 18, 20, and going and buying a CD. And I had a very ritualistic thing with it. I would always put the headphones on. I would turn the lights off. I'd lay in bed or wherever I could, just totally no distraction and completely immerse myself in it. And to the point that my friends would make fun of me. They
Yeah.
He's doing the headphone treatment. That was actually, a friend of mine just joked about that the other day. And it's as streaming and all this stuff, obviously super convenient and tons of advantages to it. But I found myself getting further and further away from that ritual that I love so much.
Yeah.
You used to have it. It sounds like you enjoyed headphones and
Yeah.
you had
My
your
CD player,
Walkman.
my Sony CD player, I had like my own room and I painted the walls. Like one wall was dark purple, like I had two lavender walls and like a white wall, and I had this silver heart-shaped pillow on my like purple bedclothes, and I got my silver
Yeah.
Sony CD player, and I had it could tape off of the radio, and it had a CD player. And that CD player, I had feelings of love for. I literally was like, I loved it. And I would go up to my room. I remember getting like Pink's album, her first record, and then like Misunderstood. And like, there's certain like records I really remember, or like I'd got a tape from my friend that was all like rock, like music and
Yeah.
grunge music. and like hearing songs for the first time in that room. It was just like my room was my little teenage space, and my CD player was like the main event in the room.
Yeah.
I taped the Spice Girls album for my friend. My friend like didn't have it,
Yeah.
and we sat in my room and like play. It was such a terrible recording, and it was just pirated. It was just playing it out into the room, and then on a tape player recording it. It was such bad quality, and us being like however old we were when the Spice, I mean like 10 or something, just
Yeah.
fidgeting and like wriggling and like making noise during the recording. And she was like yes, and like brought home her tape, you know, that we like bought. We made the effort to do that. And yeah, I think there was, like you say, it's obviously convenient and it's so cool to be able to discover so many artists, but at the same time I just feel like when there's more, like it naturally becomes more disposable. And when corporations are trying to sell connection in this kind of phony way, it becomes like, guys, it just becomes even more disposable, because you're like, I feel like my experience with music is infected with corporate slime of like
Yeah.
selling, you know, and trying to get me to engage so that they can buy my data. And I'm just like, I'm just so sick of everyone trying to fucking buy my data. It's just so, at this point, I feel you can actually physically feel it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's all just, it's like everywhere. Nothing is sacred anymore. Everything's just about,
Yeah.
which is why actually vinyl is so great, because vinyl is pretty sacred. Like no one's like taking my data when maybe when I purchase it, but like when it's just, when I get to just play records, which we often do, me and my boyfriend often do on the weekends, it's like, it's just kind of easy and relax. It's like genuinely relaxing because it's not on my phone.
Yeah. It's like an activity. That's my wife and I do the same thing. It's an event. Like, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to watch a movie or do you want to listen to a record? It's a thing.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're on your phone, it just becomes another thing
Yeah.
to do on your phone, whether it's like scrolling social media or whatever. It becomes lumped into that same thing. Whereas the experience of a record or CD, something tangible, physical, you have to do a little work. You have to at least go put the record on. You have to sit down. So it makes you focus, I think, in a way that I never focus when I'm streaming something. I try because of my job, I have to at least like put myself in it and I do things that I can. I'll put the headphones on with my laptop or whatever it is, but it's never quite the same as that feeling
Uh, it's
the
not. I remember how like horrified I was when I heard that people just listened to music on their speakers on their laptop.
yeah.
Like now I listen on my phone speakers sometimes, if I can't find my headphones or something, I'll just have something out. And obviously there's so many great things about like being creative and the ease of being able to send files and work and like discover and everything. But yeah, there is something so disposable even about artwork too. Like artwork became about the little square
Yeah.
on, I remember when that was like iTunes Square, and I was like, really? Like people are going to make record covers just based on that? And now it's like, well, now it's Instagram, and it's just so,
Yeah.
it's just changed human behavior. And I don't think it's for like, it's graceful or artistic or has much credibility. It's changed human behavior based on like basically money and advertising.
Hey everyone. It's time to pull a record off the shelf at random and see what we get. All right, I definitely know what this is. This is my all-time favorite band, or well, maybe tied for first place. This is Radiohead with A Moon-Shaped Pool. This album came out in 2016, and it is Radiohead's most recent album. This is, of course, the fancy deluxe version of the album. It's vinyl, and there are CDs in here as well. But the artwork is absolutely phenomenal. The lyrics look amazing. Buying the In Rainbows album in 2007 was really my first record I bought for my own collection, and that kind of kickstarted my love of vinyl as well. So, of course, I've purchased every Radiohead related vinyl that I could get from that point on. And Radiohead are awesome because they put out basically these interesting pieces of physical media. There's In Rainbows, this is the box set that this kind of started it all for me. Of course, in 2012, you had the newspaper edition of The King of Limbs. If I were to rank the Radiohead albums, I'd probably put Moon-Shaped Pool somewhere in the middle. It's not at the very, very top for me. That would be OK Computer, Kid A, and In Rainbows. Those are definitely top three. But this would be, kind of just below that, probably the fourth or fifth album on the list. Johnny Greenwood really leaned into the orchestrations on this album, and that's something that makes it really unique for them. It has, I think he described it as old technology and new technology. Dex Dark, one of my favorite Radiohead songs. Burn the Witch, phenomenal, full stop. And it's kind of amazing that I would give this probably a 9 out of 10, at least 9.5. And it's probably, fourth or fifth on my list of their favorite albums. So that just shows you how much I love this band. And I just treasure all of these Radiohead vinyl. Just incredible pieces of artwork in addition to being amazing albums. And this is why I love physical media. This is the proof right here. I've read about dealing with OCD and anxiety. I have anxiety myself. So for me, like if I'm in a record store or even just at home, just being around records and flipping through them and looking at the collection, I find it very calming. It does something to me. I think my brain chemistry just makes me feel at peace somehow. Even when I'm excited, sometimes I'm in a record store flipping through records and I get a rush out of it. It is kind of a calming thing. It helps me just sort of focus on it. I didn't know if that helps you at all, or if you feel that way about things that you deal with.
I think there is a feeling about going into a record shop. I recently went into a couple of really cool ones in Soho, like Sister Ray Records and a few others. I was looking for a gift for a friend who loves records, and I was like, oh, it just always feels the same when you go in there as when you were a teenager. And it was absolutely like rammed as well, which was cool. Like it was middle of the week and I was like, why is it so busy in here?
Yeah.
And I could see like parents with their kids, lots of dads with like young girls and stuff, which was cool. And I think that it's nice because it's a dedicated focus to something outside of the noise of all the selling that's going on and all the scrolling. And you're just kind of you're like, I think it's what you're describing is like you're in a zone where you're focused on a physical, tangible thing. So you really aren't, you might look something up on your phone, but you probably are just flipping through. And like that analog feeling is calming, I think. I mean, personally, I love that we have these shelves that I can just like hide my mess.
Yeah.
I'm an extremely messy person. So having them out doesn't necessarily, I used to have all my books and records out everywhere, and I've always been quite messy. And when I was a teenager and I got my own record player, I got my first record player in a charity shop. It didn't even fit in my room. It was like on the floor. There was nowhere to put it. It just was on the floor by my bed, and all my records are just on the floor, and all my clothes were on the floor, and like everything was on the floor. But I would just wake up and just like put on a record. And I used to listen to a lot of Bob Dylan at the time because I like had a crush on a guy who like really liked Bob Dylan. And so I got he like wrote things kind of like Bob Dylan, and I was just like, oh my God, I love Bob Dylan. And and I felt like that's when I started going to charity shops and like looking for classic records and stuff, and records that I knew the covers of, or I knew I should know, but I didn't know. And I think it gives me a sense of identity, and it gives me a sense of feeling empowered because I can find something and I can learn something and I can make something my own. And that's what's really nice for me is that when I'm in a record shop, I really remember I knew I wanted to, I'd heard the Buzzcocks. I'd gone and bought like a Buzzcocks like compilation, fell in love with it, and I was like, right, I'm into punk music. I know I'm a punk, but like that's the only punk music I know. So like, how am I gonna, I know the Sex Pistols, but like that was it. And I went to this vinyl market that was happening in London, Spitalfields Market. It was like on Wednesday morning or something. And I went to this like old guy selling all these punk records. And I was like, look, I know I like punk music, but I don't know anything about it. Can you like can you help me? And he was like, yes. And he loved it. And he showed me all these records and all these really cool, like bored teenagers compilations, and found out about all these awesome like British punk bands, like the Adverts and Zips. And it just gave me such, I just felt really inspired and I felt empowered. And at a time when I was working in a chicken shop and I was rejected from university, and I felt like I just had a heart surgery, and I was like, what is going to happen with me and my life and my mortality and all of this? And records and like music gave me identity, and going to find that music myself made me feel cool, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. There's always something about the hunt and finding something that there's also a sense for me of, I feel like, especially if it's an obscure album, that I'm kind of rescuing it or something. Maybe it's just kind of withering away in the dollar bin, and who knows, is it going to be just thrown in a junk pile somewhere? But if I rescue it and listen to it and appreciate it, it's like it was worth it. Maybe somebody doesn't even know that anyone's listening to this album, but there's just something romantic, I think, about taking something, making it your own, and continuing the life cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, because I'm such a huge Glow fan, and I know how much Mark Maron is a vinyl guy too. Have you guys connected over that? When you were on the set, did you talk about collecting?
Mark is a funny character because he's quite like isolated, really. Like he purposely sat away from all of us,
Okay. Yeah.
especially in season one. But we would always like go over to him and like, bug him and stuff. But I feel like he wasn't much of a sharer, really. He is kind of a curmudgeon, but you could open him up, crack him open every now and then.
Yeah.
But he's kind of, I feel like that's no shocker to hear either. I feel like for him, it's probably quite personal as well. But yeah, so not really.
I wanted to ask you about at least one question about your new album, which is great. Especially love the song Misery. It's such a great melody on that. The strings are so beautiful. Do you have a record that maybe we could look at, or even if you don't have it physically in front of you, a record in your collection that inspired anything on your new album? Is there something you can, oh, this thing can connect to one of the new songs?
Do I have something for that? Oh, actually, I mean, I have Elvis was kind of a big inspiration, and I have a big Elvis compilation right here. So maybe that
Oh, yeah,
works.
we can talk about that.
Let me look and see if I've got any musical theatre records too, because it was very like musical theatre inspired. I think I do
Yeah.
have some. Everything's like sorry, that was my dog. Newish stuff. Oh, do you know what I have? This is funny. I have Puff the Magic Dragon right here.
Oh, nice. Yeah, let's take a look at that.
So yeah. So this is like, the old MGM. It's like the original recording from the MGM film Kiss Me Kate. And then I also have this Walt Disney All About Dragons, Puff the Magic Dragon. Puff the Magic Dragon was like one of my favorite songs as a kid. And musical theatre and like old Hollywood films were a big inspiration to my album, because I worked on a musical, and whilst I was doing that, I did a couple of the songs. Like I've composed all of the music for the musical. It's called Only Gold at the MCC Theatre off Broadway in New York. And with my producer Frederick, we did a couple of songs together for the musical, and we just loved that experience because it kind of freed us up to do something totally different. And he's an amazing string arranger, as you can hear on the record.
Yeah.
And so when it came to like record something, we wanted to make a full album together because we'd only done like disjointed kind of things. I wanted to make something quite beautiful and cinematic, and to just kind of dip again back into that musical theatre world and old Hollywoody kind of feeling beautiful soundtrack world, and make something that was softer than what I had really made in a long time. And so, yeah, I listened to loads of like Hollywood movie soundtracks, musical theatre soundtracks. And then also Elvis was like a big inspiration too. I was listening to a lot of Elvis at that time.
Yeah.
Just the old Hollywoody thing. I think there's something like really like romantic about Elvis and his like I love all his like outtakes as well and his kind of romantic songs. I think.
Yeah, I think you could hear all that on the album. It definitely has a yeah, like larger than life kind of grand quality to it. So the strings definitely that makes it, the strings are beautiful on the album, like you said.
So good. And actually I have the record here actually. I even the back, you see the artwork.
Yeah.
So that's like all these like old Hollywood films had all these like painted backdrops in them. And I read this really cool piece about how loads of these films that the like Sound of Music and all these amazing ones, like they got like thrown in a dumpster just because people were like clearing stuff out and they didn't know what it was. Someone found it and then restored them, and now they're in a museum, I think.
Oh my God.
And that kind of inspired me for the record cover because I really like the playing with like the nature, and in these films sometimes the nature is very blended and you can't tell, and sometimes it's so obviously painted backdrop, and I love both sides of that. And how in the artwork we wanted to like show that it's a studio, and like you can see the number of the like the rented, like what number it
Oh,
was
I didn't
rented.
notice that. Yeah.
So you're kind of like breaking, that it's like Hollywood magic, but like actually in the studio.
Yeah.
Which I like.
Yeah, there's something cool about those films where it's like it's this uncanny weird thing where it is, yeah, is that real? Is that fake? It's sort of in this in-between world, which is kind of beautiful in itself to be in this
Yeah.
in-between space. So yeah, I've always loved that about films from that time as well. Do you have a record in your collection that your friends make fun of you for owning? Anyone that's like oh my God, I can't believe you have that. I have quite a few of those, so I always have to ask.
I feel like I've bought records like based, did I get this one out? Just based on like how they look sometimes. But like I feel like no one would really make fun of me. Oh, but like this record, this is actually it. I bought this purely based on the cover. Because how cool is that?
What is that? That is it. Oh my, fabulous poodles. I'm like,
It's such an awesome like record cover.
yeah, that's if I saw that in a store, I would immediately pick it up.
You
And
have to. It's like everyone's just wearing these like pink glasses. I mean, I just love it. Think pink, the fabulous poodles.
what year is that? Do you know?
Um, 1979, pink.
79. I'm gonna have to look this up.
Yeah, and it's side one, Man with Monkey, Bionic Man, Any Port in a Storm, Hollywood Dragnet, Bike Blood. Side two, Cossack Cowboy, Anorexia, like a name, Anorexia. You Wouldn't Listen, Suicide Bridge, Pink City Twist, and Vampire Rock. I mean, what's not to love about this?
Yeah, that would be an automatic buy if I encountered that. Just because I wouldn't even look it up. I'd just be like, I don't want to know. Let me get home, throw it. Because that could be like post-punk or it could be
Yeah,
like I have no idea what genre that is.
it feels just like Divine or something was involved,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, yeah. I could see that for sure. Is there a record in your collection that your fans would be surprised that you own?
I don't think my fans would be surprised because I feel like I do have quite a um I've always had a quite an eclectic taste.
Yeah.
Think of what would surprise anyone, really. I don't think there is, to be honest.
No, that's
I
fine.
have picked out some records to show you.
Oh yeah, let's see it. I'd love
Is
to see what you
this
have.
one is by a band called the Old Man Dinner Band, which is my manager's husband. My manager in LA, my acting manager, Margaret Pollock, her husband Harvey, is in a band called the Old Man Dinner Band that they started because they used to just go to dinner like every Thursday night at the
Yeah.
park restaurant near their house. And then they started, and they were all like, old musicians, and they started the Old Man Dinner Band. And I've been to like a few of their gigs. And
I'm
it's great. The show is like them kind of figuring out what they're going to play, arguing with each other, doing bits almost of like bickering old men is like part of the thing.
yeah.
But it's great. It's yeah, it's awesome. And this is a signed copy.
I just went on the Discogs page. I'm gonna look them up. Everything you
This is
show me, I'm gonna have a
it's
little
called
bit.
the blue plate special.
So yeah, I see that here.
The
Okay,
blue record, the blue plate special. I just love it.
nice. I'm intrigued.
And then another record that I picked out was this album by my friend's band, Soft Play. This is Heavy Jelly. I love this artwork.
Oh yeah,
It's so cool, and the jelly is like really shiny. And then I love the artwork too. It's like punk kind of comic book style, and then the
yeah.
vinyl is as well, like this bright green, and it's both of their heads
Okay.
either side.
It's like if I were flipping in the record store and I saw that cover,
Yeah,
the
you
band name, the album name, and that, I'd be like,
I
okay,
know.
that's worth a shot. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, their music videos are so fun. The music video for Act Violently is so good. Bin Juice Disaster is a great song. Worms on Tarmac, which is literally like a song about worms.
Yeah.
And I just Everything and Nothing is a really beautiful song. But I became friends with Isaac, who like I've known of these guys for they've been on the scene for years, and I didn't really we didn't come across each other, and then I became friends with Isaac in the pandemic because he has a solo project called Baby Dave,
Hmm.
and I just like fell in love with his music. Just I was living in LA at the time, and it's so British. I got drawn to anything that felt really quintessentially home, that like probably an American person wouldn't necessarily get right away. Like even with TV shows and stuff like that. And but yeah, Baby Dave is awesome. And I messaged Isaac about the record, and he has OCD and so do I, and we were just talking about that. And then we just kind of became friends, and we would message loads about music, and he asked me to sing on a song, and I am on one of his singles, Telephobia. And then this is their latest record. We've kind of been on a similar like festival round, and they're going on tour this autumn as well. But this album is so great, and they're just like such lovely people, and really so energetic, like amazing live energy, like really fun shows as well. I think
I,
you'll like it.
again, we're in the age of streaming. There's a convenience factor to streaming. We all know that. And a lot of people are attached to that. But there are people like us who love these physical objects. They love to go to record stores. They love having this other connection with physical media. So I didn't know if you could just summarize your thoughts, like why you still do it, why you still collect stuff. Is it just that kind of romantic idea? And again, being able to get off your phone and do all of that. But is there something deeper to it, or do you think it's just kind of what we've talked about so far?
I think I really appreciate objects. I like to collect other things too. Like I do have loads of random objects that mean something to me. And I think it's about identity, and like I said, being empowered and feeling like I have ownership over something. And yeah, like building like a home through music, I think and through your things is cool. And I'm someone who travels a lot and I move around a lot. So um yeah, which isn't necessarily like I shouldn't necessarily have stuff because I do move around a lot, but I do love stuff. And I think when I sit and look through my things and things like records and anything tangible, I feel really connected to myself, and I feel connected to my past, but it also inspires me like to make records and to like think about how I want to kind of, make my next album look, and what I want the vinyl to look like and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.